What's up, nerds and nerdettes and wee little nerdlings all? It's your buddy Big Johnny G, Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming. So, welcome back to another Midday Monologue Monday. And today I want to talk about something that I've actually had on my mind to bring up for one of the topics lately, but there's been other things that have been rushing and flooding into my mind that kind of put this off. And while I was sitting there thinking about what's coming up this week, I was like, wow, I can do this now. There's finally time enough. And that's an old reference. Thank you, Burgess Meredith. But no, seriously, there's time enough. So what I want to do is I want to talk about, well, you know, you watch these gaming videos, and a lot of these guys and girls have these fantastic tables. Some of them cost a couple of $1,000s for a table. I mean, they're beautiful. If I had that money, I would spend it too. I'm not being judgmental. Trust me, I would do it, and I know that. But that's still a lot of money. So a lot of people, I'm assuming, are like myself, and can't really justify that. So maybe you use a dining room table, or maybe like me, you use a regular folding table you got from Staples. There's ways to make it look a little bit better for game day. So why don't we go down to my table and we'll talk about it. Down at the table to talk about the table. So thank you for joining me. So as I said in the intro, this is a subject that I've been thinking about, talking about for a while, and I'm glad I finally had the opportunity to come here, sit down with you, and discuss this. Because like I said, I'm sure there's at least a few out there besides me that really can't afford anything fancy as far as a gaming table goes. But yet, there are things that we can do. And you may have noticed over the videos now, I admit, sometimes I get a little lazy, or sometimes we're really crunched for time, or we're behind schedule. So it doesn't happen every single time like I want it to in a perfect world. But you may have noticed that I do use different table covers for different shoots and different games. And I do that thematically, so that our eyes are looking at something other than a dull, old, gray folding table from Target. At least this way, when we're going on a dungeon delve, you know, it looks a little bit like a stone wall from a castle, or some really odd cobblestone. In a fantasy world, what's really odd? Who's to say what's really odd? It could be normal there. But you understand what I mean. And so I think one of the first things I actually got was a space one for my sci-fi games. And particularly, I think if I remember correctly, what kind of spawned this was when I got what I played and therefore fell in love with Tiny Epic Galaxies. I wanted to look at something more than the Great Tabletop. So this was a good buy. And everything here that I have out, things I'm going to show you, things I'm going to put pictures up or splash the full page of, I'll tell you right now, everything that I personally got of these, I found on Amazon. I can't remember exactly because it's been over the course of 2 years, I guess, or almost, that I've been slowly collecting some of these up. But I think they range from like $5.99 to $12.99, I think, and that was for the grass setting, because that's a cloth. The rest of these are kind of cheap plastic, but that's why they don't cost much. And also, I can't find these in better quality like the grass one is. You know, I would much prefer that. So I much like if you've watched if you've watched any of my State of the Shelves, I got 2 up now, 3. They're due for a new one. I gotta get Tommy V back over here to film one. But if you've watched them, then you may know this already. But if you haven't seen any of those videos, I don't know. Maybe you're wondering about my collection behind me, and I bring this up for a reason. Because when I watch other gamers, other reviewers, I'm looking behind them more than I'm watching them, because I want to see what's in their collection. Yeah, I want to know what they're talking about. That's why I clicked on it. But I get ideas from looking at the collection behind them. And the one thing I've noticed is I have no freaking idea how most other gamers on YouTube, how they categorize anything. I dare say complete lack of categorization in some cases. Now, the only thing I can think of is some of the bigger name ones have a lot of sponsors. That probably dictates what's going to be exactly behind them on the camera. You know, Fantasy Flight Games or Games Workshop or someone is specifically paying them for that advertising. But that aside, I have no idea how most other gamers do it. Me, I do it by genre category. Everything by genre category. All the way up the top with basic sci-fi, then franchise sci-fi, and then deep space sci-fi. You get the idea. Dungeons and Dragons, mythology, the bottom 2 are base fantasy, by theme, by genre. So that's my approach to the tabletop covers. And it works. It's simple. I dare say elegant, but only because of its simplicity. So they're all kind of cheap. And it depends on what you want. And I would suggest the first one you would get is pick one associated to a group of games that you play often. Such as if you play a lot of science fiction games, then you might want to look for something that has stars and space on it, or something other science fiction-y symbols that you want to look at down on your table, you know? So start with that, because the more you're going to play the game, the more then you're going to obviously use what you spent money on, this tabletop cover. As I pointed out with this, you know, this is great for fantasy games. It's great for dungeon delves. It works well, but if it's not in the dungeon, then I got this foresty grass, leaves, or I got just the regular grass, which is currently on the table. I'm sure there's something up here, or will be, or was, to show that off. Now, okay, sometimes they can be used for separate purposes. This is actually a pirate theme, but the piratey stuff hangs off the ends of the table. Other than getting up to get a drink or go to the bathroom or walk your dogs or answer the door or something, you're not really getting up, so you're not really seeing the sides that are hanging down. What you're seeing is the wooden plank floors. So not only do I like this with pirate games and or just Age of Sail games, but I also found that I like using it for tavern games. You know, games that take place in or have something to do with a pub. You know, like Red Dragon Inn or Flagon and the Dragon. Infighting, of course. Because I think, the only thing it needs is sawdust. Right? Right? That's all you need to put down the bottom of it is sawdust. And maybe a couple of liquor stains. But yeah, it doubles perfectly for that. Also, by the way, speaking of doubling, I often use this for my Cthulhian games because Lovecraft stuff is and was originally a form of science fiction. But when I don't use that for my regular horror games, and this is already on the table, so there'll be a splash, I use the bloody handprints for most of my other horror games. I got this one at Christmas time as a gift. So I don't know how much this one was, but this is, hello, this is great for generic superhero games. And I used it for the unboxing on Super Show, the wrestling card game, because wrestlers are kind of like superheroes in a sense. At least they were in the 80s. But I got 2 in the wing waiting. So, because we haven't had a chance to play the Justice League game yet. But I got a Justice League cover. And we haven't had a chance to play the Batman game. No, I gotta double check. I think that's the winner for last month's Shelf of Shame. I gotta double check. That may be the winner. But for that, I got this very specific tablecloth of the Bat. Very cool. Gotta find something for Avengers or Marvel. So I don't have to just use the generic. What else? Oh, yes. So I got this, right, for the water. This works great for Merchants and Marauders or any other Age of Sail game. It also works fabulous, awesome with Forbidden Island. Because think about it. As you're taking the pieces of the island away, the tiles, as they're getting flooded, they get removed. So what do you end up seeing underneath it? Yeah. See, these little visual cues, they take a game that you already love, you already like, you know, and they just kind of tweak it up a little bit. That's what these do. I got to get something like this with clouds in the sky, though, now that I got Forbidden Sky. And that could also be good with a superhero game. You know, superheroes are always flying around, I guess. And there are a few airport and piloting games, so that would be... I don't have any of them, but I know they're out there. I've seen them, so that would be great for that. Oh, yeah, Centauri. This would be a great map for Centauri to use, too. You know? So it looks like that's in my collection of the tabletop stuff. Now, I know we're already going into like 11 minutes into this or so, but before we go, there's one other thing I wanted to talk about. It doesn't have to do with the table. It has to do with the atmosphere. This is something 2 years ago Tommy V got for me for Christmas. And I haven't used it enough, and I think I'm glad I haven't. I think by lack of using it so much, I've prolonged its product life. And he found this online. This I think this is the regular company's name, and that's Adventure Sense. And they have a whole line of different things. So like this particular one is called Glare. It's called Dank Dungeon. And it's these little... Whoa! Ah, that's gonna be a good cleanup. Only a couple got out. It's these little scented beads that have a smell like... Yeah, that does smell a little dank like a dungeon would. So he got me a few of these. There's also the Welcoming Inn, which says the scent of meat, potatoes, herbs, and spices waft towards you from the stew pot, whetting your appetite. And it does kind of... And this is a 4-pack, and there's also the Enchanted Forest. Take a walk through a forest that glistens with gold, from the leaves crunching under your feet to the magic crackling in the air. And you know, you have to move them around a little bit after they've been sitting there. Just, you know, kind of stir it up a little bit, and that gets the scent back out. And this is Wizard's Tower. And this is the cozy room fills with the rich scent of pipe tobacco and the smudge of magical herbs that leaves you feeling warm and protected. So I haven't had a chance to ever talk about these, so I figured since I'm talking about the table stuff, that just bring that up as a quick little bonus there, Adventure Sense. So fixing the table, and maybe even fixing the very odiferous atmosphere around you, or making it odiferous, I guess. All right, everyone, thank you for checking us out on Facebook, on Instagram, and Twitter. That is fantastic that you do that. Thank you so much for heading over to our Zazzle store and checking out some of the cool shirts and designs that we have over there, hats and mugs and bumper stickers and anything I can put an image on that I made. Boom, I did. So check that out. You might find something you like, or something you think someone else will like. Oh, and of course, right here, how can I forget YouTube? Thank you so much for subscribing to us on YouTube. for commenting, for liking, and as I always say, thank you so much for sharing our videos to let other people know about us. I'm your buddy Big Johnny G. Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming, and I am out of here.